Alrighty guys, Gridlife prep is in full effect. If you didn't see the last video, we got this new truck, single cab short bed Chevy 1500. We're eventually going to turbo it, but for right now we're going to be using it to tow the open trailer while we build our new dually diesel truck, which we'll explain later. So, truck situation, got the trailer brake controller working, trailer lights, we've got all that done, open trailer's ready to go. Fitting all my stuff in this is going to be a little tricky, but we'll get to that when we get to that. For right now, we need to focus our attention to the Miata. We basically got 2 full days to get everything we need to get done. So the main thing we need to do, first thing I want to tackle, we need to fix the handbrake tabs. We have an aluminum plate here, and we had these tabs sticking up, and then a handle, and then this rod connects to our master cylinder. So our master cylinder is mounted back there. There's just not a lot of room in this area of a Miata, so I wanted to do the remote mount setup just so it wasn't super cluttered here. I didn't have like a master cylinder up against my leg. But we used, not super thick aluminum, and I knew it was only a matter of time before it broke, and it broke. So, we have to rebuild this plate. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it in steel or aluminum yet. If we do it in aluminum, we're going to double it up and strengthen it and brace it and stuff. But first order of business is going to be getting this carpet out, shift boot out, and all that so we can pull the plate out. This is why I'm glad I used rib nuts, because it makes pulling bolts out way easier. Otherwise, I'd have to have someone underneath the car holding the nut on the backside. I don't know if I can get this other one off without pulling this rod out. Oh, we got it. We good. If we can get this carpet off without too much trouble here. All right, carpet's out. Oh no. I gotta get under there and disconnect this wideband sensor so I can get this plate off. Got it. So you can see right there where the tabs broke off. I need to go find the handle that I had. I think it's in my trailer somewhere. All right, so here's the handle. This was welded here. I mean, it was like this for a really, really long time. And the other thing we need to fix is I have that spherical joint on the rod bolting to the side here. And what happens is when you pull back, it hits the resistance there, and the whole thing wants to rotate to the left and over. So it causes it to get bent like this. So one thing I want to do as well is weld basically 2 straight pieces on here and bolt it to the center of this so that the pressure is evenly applied instead of constantly trying to rotate it. So I think what I'm going to do is trace this out of another piece of aluminum, cut it out, and then weld them together, and then figure out how to beef up my tabs as well. Maybe add some braces or something. So this is basically, if you're sitting in the driver's seat, front, back. Another thing we need to do is add another bolt somewhere around here if we can, because another thing that happens is as that pulls back and pushes up here, it kind of wants to pull this up, and there's nothing here to keep it from pulling up, so it kind of just wants to bend the plate up. So we're going to double up this plate, add a bolt, redo our mounting. I'm going to try to keep this handle. Oh, this thing's pretty bent. It's a little bent. But because I welded sleeves in here and stuff, and I really don't feel like doing that again. So I don't know, we'll see if this handle's salvageable. But first we need to work on the plate. So we also cut this hole open too big. We cut it here and it was like a little too far forward, so then we opened it up. So on the next one we'll probably just make the hole like come up to here basically on the top plate. All right, let's see what we have as far as aluminum. This is my scrap bucket. Oh, that's a plenty big piece. Look at that. It's like the last piece of this 4x4 sheet I had. I made so much stuff out of that 4x4 sheet. I bought it just so I'd have enough to build an expansion tank. And I built like a fan shroud, I built this, I built the expansion tank, I built a bunch of bracket. I built so much stuff out of that one sheet. It's so worth it. I need to go buy more. It's good to just try to buy like extra material if you can afford it, because you'll never know what you're gonna need it for. And when you have it right there on hand, it's so much easier to get a project done. Oh, this is like the perfect length right here.
Are you making another bracket?
I'm just gonna weld a second plate to this one. All right, so I've come up with a bit of a redesign plan. On top of adding the tabs here and getting the heim joint center, I also want to go to a solid rod. And then basically my plan is I'll have the two tabs coming off welded, just basically plates, and the thing will bolt in the middle there, and then weld this sleeve for the bolt at the bottom. These I drilled holes and basically welded the tube into it, like into the center, but I think it'll be better to weld to a solid tube on the bottom, because I mean drilling through the solid tube is the problem. So anyway, I think that's what we're gonna try. I think the other reason I did it this way is because I had already had these tabs pretty close together, so now I can space them out a little bit more and run the full length of the tube. Guess let's make a parts store run. We can take the new truck. I'm excited. Gives me an excuse to go drive it around. Not complaining about that. I always like driving new vehicles when I get them. I can't help it. I just want to drive it. Made it. So we're back from the parts store run. So this is the old pipe. You can see it's a pretty thin wall, solid tube here. I mean, it shouldn't be too bad. It's just heavy. You know, obviously adding weight to a car when you don't have to is kind of silly, but I mean, it's not really gonna make a difference, and hopefully it won't bend. So first thing I wanna do though is get this plate cut out. So I set up the hole to be a little further down, kind of crudely drew it. And we have our lines marked, so we just need to, I'm gonna try to cut this out with the plasma cutter, because with the bandsaw, you kind of have to like, you know, maybe cut to here and then cut over so that you can get into here and weird stuff like that. So let's get this cut out. All right, well, that's what it would look like if I didn't suck. The rest of it is pretty meh from my not great cutting. Also, I know about the clamping a piece of something straight to do a straight cut thing. I knew that. I was just trying to figure it out on my own without using something like that, because a lot of the stuff I'm going to use this for isn't going to be straight cuts. Oh, we need to cut the center out. I almost forgot about that. All right, that's good enough. I I definitely need to set up some sort of plasma cutting area so I don't get my workbench so messed up. I mean, it's really not bad. I can grind this stuff off, but definitely be better to be doing it over like something deep where the slag can just fall down in there. Okay, so my plan now, we need to get these attached. I want to weld them together. So I think I'm gonna run this guy on the top, basically transfer our holes over, and then we have this little lip here. I made it a little bit wider just so it'll be a little easier to weld. So make the tabs wider this time too. I'm gonna try to use the full length of this dowel. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I guess I could cut it down. It's hard to get that nice finished edge if I cut it down myself. So we'll see, One step at a time. Let's get this tacked together. Last time I was at the metal supply place, I picked up some more aluminum rod, and I don't know, I guess I just didn't look at the size. This is the rod I normally have. I think it's a 16th, and then this is like, this might be a 16th, this might be like a 32nd. This rod's like twice the size, and I mean, I might just not be used to it, because this rod does go pretty fast as you're filling it, because it takes a lot of material most of the time with aluminum, but I don't know. I've been struggling a little bit with this rod. I just put too much in because I'm not used to how much is deposited with like one dab. It's a lot more. So I need to get the hang of it basically. This is a habit I need to get better at. It's cleaning aluminum, especially off with denatured alcohol, and cleaning like my rods and stuff off. Alright, I cranked the gas flow up a little bit too. I have a feeling that it's not flowing as much argon as it should be, so we'll try that. I think that might have been my problem the whole time. You guys saw the poop cart rebuild video. You know, I was struggling with the aluminum welding. It just wasn't wanting to weld cleanly. I think this is a little pinched, this hose, and I think it wasn't letting enough gas through. So I cranked it up to like 35 CFH. Normally you run 15 to 20, and it seems way better. Oh yeah. Yeah, wow. So weld that whole thing with basically not enough gas flow. Wow, this makes me feel way better. I thought I was just that rusty, but it was just not enough gas flow. God, it's so much better. That's so funny. Alright, we'll let that cool down and then we'll test fit it. Alright, it looks like it's gonna work. I want to go ahead and try to get an idea of where I'm gonna drill my support hole for here. I'd like to do it like right around here, but I don't know if there's any material there. I think we should be able to go. We can get our tabs up around here. All right. A nice tight gap all the way around, so we can go ahead and just weld it out. It's gonna be a little time consuming. It's a lot of weld. Alright, so welding this thing out was pretty fun just because I was having so much struggle with the argon before and I didn't know what the problem was, and now I had figured it out. I bumped the argon up, it was welding good, so it was kind of fun to kind of get back in the groove of TIG welding aluminum and it be going well, you know, and have kind of a really big, long project of welding to practice on and feel it out and try to dial it in again, because I am a little rusty regardless. Like, it has been a bit since I've welded aluminum. Well, that went a hell of a lot better than the last time we TIG welded aluminum. It's always so hard to capture welds on camera, but they all came out pretty clean. There's some really good spots too, but I mean, it's all like, I'm totally happy with it. There's none of it that I'm like, oh man, that looks like crap. So realistically, didn't need to weld the whole thing all the way around, but you guys know me, I like practicing. I'm gonna try to weld this inside. I gotta let this cool down a little bit. It is hot. Got the inside welded. This part was kind of weird. That's where I couldn't get a good tack, so I just kind of like did what I could and then reflowed it. But over here looks fine. Came out decent. I wanted to make sure I did this, that way the plate can't like lift up off itself. Clamp it and drill these holes while it's cooling down. I broke a couple of my Cleeline bits that I've had for about a year now, so I bought a new bit set. Found the right size. One tip I could give you, buy nice drill bits. Oh, these don't even have the slots on them? Wow. Well, buy nice drill bits. Not taking my own advice. These are more expensive than the Cleeline bits were. They don't even have the little, like, slots. You know what I'm talking about, where it's like cut for the 3 teeth? I don't know. We'll see how they do. But anyway, expensive drill bits are worth it. They'll save you so much time. Seems to cut good. All right, holes drilled. We'll let it cool down. We need to drill a hole in the body of the car where this hole is, and then put a rib nut in there as well. So we'll get this thing loosely in place, do that next. All right, well, that's what it looks like. Got our hole drilled here. I'll need to open it up and throw a rib nut in it real quick, and then we can start working on our tabs. I'm gonna do the same thing I did here. I'm just gonna cut 2 out, or cut 4 out, and then weld them together, and then weld them to this, so they're double thick, and then I might try to add like a brace or something. But like, those ones lasted a long time, and they were getting a lot of weird stress on them from the pivot point being here and the handle kind of wanting to twist, and they were only welded on the outside. So I think if we weld these on the inside and the outside, I think we'll be all right. So we'll just use these and then cut them in half, and then we'll double them up. Probably go about, I guess let's measure. All right, we got those welded together. So now we're gonna start mapping out where to put it on here and getting them tacked on. The worst thing about touching hot stuff with welding gloves is it's like a delayed effect. Like, you'll touch it and it'll start burning the glove, you'll set it down, and then it'll start burning your finger. All right, tabs are welded on all the way around on both of them, so those should be significantly stronger than last time. Now we need to start kind of figuring out our handle. I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut it like 2 inches longer than that one, 3 inches longer than that one, just to bring it up a little higher above the shifter, and then just start building it out from there. We are gonna have to shorten this rod as well. I was looking at it, and it's a little too far forward, so we are gonna have to shorten that guy too, but not by much, like literally 1/4 of an inch, maybe a tiny bit more, depending. So I ended up only going about 1 inch longer. It seems to be a good spot for it. So one thing I want to do is try to grind this flat part down a little bit in the center, just to give me a little bit tighter of a fit up for the weld. Because I'm not going to be able to go crazy hot with this sleeve. All right, we got a nice snug fit on that now. So I need to make sure there's no more aluminum welding I need to do, and then we need to switch over to steel setup, so different cup and DC and whatever, and then get this thing tacked up and welded up. All right, we've got this guy welded on. Ow, it's still pretty hot. Just burned myself a little bit. I usually end up having to drill this hole out some, because there ends up being like penetration that goes through that catches the bolt, but now this thing is like super tight on there. Should be our best handbrake setup yet. We've always had like weird slop in weird places, and I'm trying to get everything exact this time. So I think next what I'm gonna do is go ahead and drill my holes here to bolt it in here, and then we can figure out where our heim joint's gonna end up. All right, got it done, got the holes drilled. I'm just really happy. Last time I did this with this one, when I was welding around the edges, it got like a lot of the penetration got inside of it, and I couldn't fit the full size bolt. So I had to use a smaller bolt so it would flop up and down and left and right. Whereas this one is super tight. There's like basically no play at all. So we still got to throw those washers. I'm gonna put them, you know, basically on either side. That way there's like a bigger surface area that's rubbing against the aluminum. It's not just that tiny surface area. But other than that, I guess let's throw it in the car and figure out where our heim joint's gonna end up. All right, so it looks like we need to shorten this by, I don't know, I'm gonna measure it. I don't wanna screw this up. So I need to cut 5/8 of an inch out of this. So I'm gonna cut it here so I'll have a flush surface to weld on, and then cut my 5/8 out. All right, that's done. Get her back in. Well, let it cool down for a second, then put it back in the car. All right, we got the tabs tacked on. This thing holds a lot of heat, man, this solid rod. So I'm gonna grind the edges down and smooth them out and round them out, but I'm gonna weld them first, figure out where to drill the hole. But I know this is the right height, I checked it in there. So yeah, anyway, welding, more welding stuff. It's easier to make aluminum look okay, like an aluminum weld to look decent, whereas with steel, any little mistake you make shows up. But with steel, it's a lot easier to get like a real perfect weld than it is with aluminum. For me at least. Steel is just like a much cleaner, it's not so crazy. When you're welding with aluminum and you're on alternating current, it's like all this crazy stuff's happening. Whereas with steel, it's just like, it's like so quiet. It pinches my hair every time. All right, well, I hit those with a second pass just to kind of fill in that area, and then I'll grind these edges down a little bit. It's real hot right now though. I was like 110 amps, just straight full tilt. So I was gonna try to weld inside here, but I don't think that's gonna happen. It'd be very tricky to get down in there. So I'll let it cool off and shape it up some, and then we'll throw it in the car and get ready to drill our hole. I got the tabs ground down and kind of rounded off a little bit, and then I got my holes drilled. So it's time for the final test fit before paint. Oh man, that feels super solid. There is no flex at all. All right, we need to run to the store to get spray paint to spray paint the parts, but I picked up these shocks last night for this thing. It's got this kind of like, I don't know, bounce isn't quite the right word. It's like, it feels like that wheel is hitting like a bunch of bumps repeatedly. It's got this, it feels kind of like you're on a washboard road, but only with the right rear passenger wheel. And yeah, so I'm gonna try shocks. I mean, that's the easy solution. Easy solution is usually not the solution, but it's worth a shot. They were cheap, they're like 30 bucks. So I'm gonna throw these on real quick, and then we'll go to the store and see if it's any better. All right, new shocks are on. The old ones definitely didn't feel bad, like they actually rebounded, so kind of doubting that that was our problem, but you know, hey, now we got new shocks on it. So, let's head to Walmart, get some spray paint. All right, we're back from the store with our spray paint. Shocks did not completely fix the issue. Definitely feels better. It's me being picky. I'm just a real stickler for ride quality and like bounces and vibrations. That is like one thing out of all the things that a car can have that drives me nuts. So, I mean, it's really not bad. And I think with the trailer hooked up, the extra weight on there, it's not even noticeable, but something I'll eventually fix. But I'm really, really liking this truck a lot. I really like it. I can't wait to turbo it, but for right now, I feel like it's gonna make a good tow rig. Anyway, let's get this stuff painted. you, look at that. Way sturdier than before. No flex down here in the plate, no flex up here in the handle. So you gotta tighten everything down and we're good. All right, guys, this thing is perfect. This is like version 3 and it is more solid than ever. It's in a good spot, doesn't get in the way. So version 1, I'd made this handle aluminum, and the rod going back here, I tried to make it adjustable, so I used like a little all thread that was like this size, and I ended up bending it like first event out. So I remade this like first night of a 3-day drift event, and I basically drilled a hole and slid this in and like plug welded it so I didn't have to worry about it, and you know, put a much thicker rod on here, and then that helped. And then that aluminum handle started bending over time and it didn't look very good, so I made that other handle, and then it was fine for a while, but the tabs was down and I could never get them cut straight, so there'd be a lot of slop, and then I couldn't run the right size bolt. So now we got like the right size bolt, uncut sleeve, like everything is correct. And the biggest thing is having this mounted in double shear in the center instead of on the side, because before when it was on the side, when you pull back, it would get tight there and kind of like rotate towards you, so you'd constantly be bending everything this way. So I think that definitely didn't help anything. So I think this should be good. This should be kind of like our final handbrake setup on this car. It feels really tight and sturdy, so stoked on that. I need to 3D print my thing. I forgot to draw it up last night, so I need to go do that and get that printing. But other than that, we're done with this, at least. Well, now basically need to get ready to load up. Like the bed's dirty, I need to clean it out. We got some new wheels, so I want to get tires mounted on these, test fit them, make sure they're going to fit on the car. I know all my other wheels fit on the car, so we got to mount the rest of our tires and start playing Tetris to get as much as we can loaded in the truck. Luckily, Ben is coming down the day after, so he'll be able to take like some more tires and spare parts bins and stuff in his truck. So I'll just load the essentials in my truck. Yeah, Ben's got to show up.
Not gonna show up, dude. I'm bailing.
I'd hate you. All right, so we got a couple new wheels to test fit. I went with 16s. I only bought 4 because I want to try them out and see how they fit and how the tires are that I have options for them, because it's different than 15s. And that way I know for sure how each size fits. So I bought a pair of 2 different styles. So first up, we got Roto Grid 2s. That look to be about a perfect fit. And clear our brakes, clear our shock. Cool, those are good. And those fit good as well. Okay, well, I've just been hustling, trying to get loaded up and ready, pouring sweat. Luckily, the tire place down the road, really cool guys there. They mounted the tires for me. Our compressor broke, of course, so I couldn't mount tires myself, so that worked out. One slight issue, this side's not that bad, but the gas tank's over here on this side, and she's squatting pretty hard. She's not far off the bump stop, so I had the toolbox in here, my green one that's normally in the enclosed, and I took it out because it was too heavy. I mean, this is a lot of stuff. It's just, I'm just afraid we're gonna be slamming the frame the whole time. I think we'll be okay. I'm gonna just keep the car over the axles and not put too much tongue weight into it, and go for a test and make sure it's good. It's just, it's sitting a lot lower on that driver's side because of the gas tank, which is full right now. So anyway, I've just been hustling along trying to get everything done. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw the car on the trailer, see how she is. Car is loaded on the trailer. I normally err on the side of tongue heavy. Basically, tongue heavy is always going to be more stable than tail heavy. So tail heavy is what can give you that death wobble where you see people start swaying and losing it, but you don't want that. That's like the worst thing you can have. Sway sucks. But I'm usually towing this behind a diesel truck where I could have the car all the way forward and it would barely squat the truck at all. So In this case, with how much weight I have in the bed and how much the truck squatted, I kind of basically centered it over the axle. I gave it a little bit forward and the car's a little bit front heavy. So between that and spare tire and stuff, I should have probably 400 or 500 pounds of tongue weight, which should be good. That should be good. I just did a test tow, went 70 for a bit on the main road and it felt fine. I gave it a couple tugs of the wheel to see if it would start to want to sway uncontrollably, and it felt fine. It kind of always came back to center, so I think we'll be all right. Worst case, if it starts feeling sketchy at all, just pull over and push the car forward. But yeah, so I mean, definitely can't take as much as I can with the enclosed with this truck, but I mean, we got freaking, well, how many tires? 2, 4, 12 tires. Ben's gonna bring up the rest of my stuff, my spare parts, and some more tires. You know, we got our chairs, we got gas tanks, we got tools. So I mean, I got an axle, so I mean, we should be all right. We should definitely be all right. You know, it being a regular cab, that the only downfall, the only thing I dislike is when we meet, because Steve's riding with me, and our luggage, we're gonna have to like put it in the Miata to keep it someplace like dry and out of the weather. I'd like to get a topper for this thing for the time that I'm using it as a tow rig, and probably some helper bags for the rear. Just those two things I think would make a big difference. But power-wise, even loaded down like this, it feels like not even a hair of a struggle to tow this trailer, to get it up to speed or anything. It feels great. That freaking 6-liter is a ripper, and having the 4L80E, I'm confident that I'm not gonna, I mean, yeah, obviously I can still break the trans, but I'm less worried about breaking the trans, so it feels really good in that aspect. Like in every way it feels good. I just think we need to get some helper bags for the rear to pick the rear up a little bit, and then a topper would be nice for when we have to stay at a hotel. But luckily this Gridlife trip, we're gonna go to the track and we'll unload everything and then go to the hotel, and then we'll leave straight from the track. So there's not really gonna be a time where all the stuff's in the truck at the hotel, so I don't really have to worry about it. For this trip, it'll get the job done. So anyway, I guess we're ready to go. Yeah, so we're gonna go head out tomorrow morning, so it should be exciting. I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.